Oregon lost out on five-star linebacker Justin Williams to Georgia, but they can't feel sorry for themselves because there's some big battles still left to fight. Let's bring on Oregon insider Justin Hopkins of Scoop Duck. Justin, big visit weekend as the Ducks are set to host well over 24 recruits. I want to talk about the most important names on that list, so let's start with five-star defensive lineman Williams Nwaneri. Now, earlier this week, Chad Simmons felt like this was more of a three-team race between Missouri, Oklahoma, and Georgia. Does this visit prove that Oregon is a real contender for Nwaneri?
I would say they're a contender, but I certainly agree with Chad Simmons that I think those other three are ahead of Oregon. Now, we know you can go in and take a visit and things can change, but I think even Oregon's feeling that they're maybe on the outside looking in on this one. Those three teams have done a great job recruiting him. Oregon has too. But this feels more like Nwaneri kind of checking off that last box, which is the visit to Oregon to kind of make sure of his decision, maybe make sure those are the three that he does like, or there's one out of that group that he likes the most, because it feels like this one's trending maybe towards a decision this summer. And just, to me, it feels like this is kind of, hey, I'm gonna take this last visit and I'm gonna be done and sit down and maybe make a decision out of this.
So even if it ends up being his final visit before making a decision, like let's say he goes to August 7, there's been rumors that Nwaneri could announce on August 7. Do you feel like this could be end up being his last visit and maybe the Ducks could make an impression where they steal Nwaneri from those other three?
I feel as though this is their chance to move into that top three, top two, whatever you might want to call it, but this is their chance to move up. And I do agree they're out. And I do agree that this trip is obviously what you need because you have no chance if you don't get him on campus at this point, right, if you're Oregon. So getting him on campus is really your home run swing, if you will. And we know that Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupoy and the rest of that coaching staff is going to roll out the red carpet and do everything they can. Again, right now, entering this trip, Oregon's on the outside looking in. But if we do an interview after this, ahead of his decision, we could be having a totally different conversation, of course.
All right, let's talk about another big-name visitor that'll be in this weekend, and that's four-star wide receiver Jeremiah McClellan. What's the latest intel on his recruitment to Oregon?
Once again, feels like he's winding down towards a decision, and, he's visited Oregon a lot. I don't think folks have really kind of counted Oregon in this one as much as the Ducks have been in it, and that's probably where Dan Lanning and Junior Adams like themselves. They like to kind of be hidden under the radar, laying in the weeds a little bit. Certainly looks like this is Ohio State versus Oregon. Would not discount LSU in the slightest as well. They recruit incredibly well at the wide receiver position, we know. So that looks like the buzz. This trip, it really says a lot that he's deciding to go and visit Oregon this last trip. Again, I think the Ducks are very much in this. And I mean, if you ask McClellan, if he was being honest, I think it's 1A and 1B right now with Oregon and Ohio State.
All right, that's a big visit. Another big visit I saw on Scoop Duck this morning is that four-star running back Jason Brown out of Seattle, Washington is set to visit. And at the same time he's set to visit, Nate Frazier, On3's number one running back, is trending heavily to Georgia. He was a priority target for Oregon, but is there any correlation between Nate Frazier trending to Georgia and Oregon now bringing in Jason Brown for a visit?
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't want to use the term fallback option because that's not fair to Jason Brown. That's not what this is. Nate Frazier's a terrific player. He's got every offer in the country, the number one running back with On3. Oregon has very limited room in the running back room, right? So I'm sure they'd love to take, three running backs in this class. Dink Riggs is already committed. And I think Oregon would like to take a second one. So you make that big push for Nate Frazier. But as we, both talked about here, he's trending towards Georgia currently. So, yeah, you maybe turn your attention to Jason Brown, turn up the heat a little bit more, and this visit very much feels like that. Again, not making him a fallback option. That's just how recruiting works, and these guys are all, talented players. So I do see the correlation there. I do agree with it, and I think this is Oregon's chance to really capitalize on his recruitment as well.
So, Justin, we're sitting down talking about 48 hours after Justin Williams spurned Oregon and committed to Georgia. Now, Oregon's been a really good recruiting team under Dan Lanning, but the loss of Justin Williams to UGA was a big blow, no matter how you cut it. He's the number one linebacker in America. Are there problems with Oregon recruiting, or is this just, a case of running into the buzzsaw that is the Georgia Bulldogs recruiting staff right now?
Yeah, it certainly looks like currently Georgia's on pace to sign the best recruiting class we've ever seen in the country. I mean, they're just kind of picking whoever they want and getting. It's pretty tremendous work by Kirby Smart and those guys down there. And I think if you're Oregon, this is where you're really finding out where you're at in the pecking order. And what I mean is, Oregon has recruited well in years past, but they're kind of punching above their weight class right now because in years prior, you weren't going up against Georgia and really even competing. You're maybe a hat on the table. And I think the Ducks are going toe to toe with the likes of Georgia and Bama and Texas and Ohio State, for these top guys around the country. So this is their chance to kind of punch into that next tier of recruiting. I know they've signed some top 10 classes. I know they've had a lot of top 15 classes. But Dan Lanning's really kind of putting them in position to start competing for these elite 5-stars with the elite schools around the country. And that's the next tier, as we both know. That's the elite level. So, you're not going to win all those battles, but if you can start winning one or two along the way and keeping it going, you're certainly starting to claw your way up into that upper group. And I think Duck fans need to remember that. This is Oregon basically punching up another weight class and trying to get in there. And you're going to take some tough losses. Justin Williams was a tough loss, but like you said, that's still a top 15 class and easily could end up a top 10 class at the end of the day.
All right. Well, with Saturday Night Live about to kick off in Eugene, Oregon, I want to know who's on commit watch. But before we do that, I need to tell you guys about these Bird Dog pants that I've been wearing. Bird Dogs is the sponsor of the Inside Scoop, and I've started wearing the slacks to work because they're not restricting, and I don't feel like I'm wearing my old pants that were stiff, almost like cardboard. Bird Dogs actually fit perfectly. I even started wearing them golfing, and because of that, I ended up buying the shorts. I definitely recommend these. I love the shorts. They're great. They fit perfectly. Get a lot of compliments when I'm out on the golf course in them. And Bird Dogs just has this great cloud knit fabric that looks just like a nice pair of khakis, but way more flexible. They've been keeping me cool and dry in this summer heat. So do me a favor right now. Go to birddogs.com/Josh or enter promo code Josh, and you're going to get a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. So do it right now. Go to birddogs.com/Josh and enter promo code Josh for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. All right, Justin, who you got on commit watch this weekend?
Yeah, just to set the table here, I don't expect this to be a huge weekend for Oregon commit-wise. I think this is more a chance for them to bring in Jason Brown and Eddie Pierre-Louis, a 4-star offensive lineman, a couple guys they want to further evaluate maybe and make sure that they want to push forward there. I think both those guys could end up being Ducks at the end of the day. I don't think it'll be this weekend. Another one that really intrigues me isn't a part of the 2024 class, but it's 2025 quarterback Akili Smith Jr. I'm pretty sure every Duck fan in the world knows who Akili Smith is. His younger son is a 4-star in the 2025 class at quarterback. He's also visiting Oregon this weekend and has been there multiple times. I'm not quite sure that he's ready to make a decision yet, but as you can guess, that's another young man that could potentially end up a Duck, if not this weekend, possibly soon after. But once again, I'm not expecting this to be huge fireworks out of Oregon. This is more a chance to maybe close on Williams Nwaneri and really try to get yourself in great shape for Jeremiah McClellan as well.
Yeah, all right. Well, that puts a button on this weekend's recruiting. Now I want to wrap it up by asking you about some guys that are not going to be at Oregon this weekend. What's up with number 1 offensive tackle Brandon Baker? Now, there's rumors. He hasn't set a date yet, but it sounds like he's going to make his decision sometime in August. I have my prediction in for the Ducks. I think you've made your prediction for the Ducks. Do you still feel good there?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. And, again, it's a 5-star offensive lineman. You've got Georgia in there. You've got Texas in there, Ohio State, Nebraska. You've got a lot of great schools and a lot of heavyweights in this one. I do like the Ducks. I feel that they've been the most, the long-standing school in his recruitment. It's, always kind of been Oregon versus, Georgia, Ohio State, whichever team you want to pick. Oregon's kind of been that constant. So it feels as though the Ducks have prioritized him and not taken him for granted just because his older brother played at Oregon. So, yeah, I still like the Ducks. And if he makes an August decision, I think all signs point, towards Oregon. But, of course, we'll have to see. When you're talking about 5-stars, things can get pretty tricky in the last 24 to 48 hours.
All right, let's stay out in California. Let's stay at Mater Dei High School, actually. Aiden Breland, the 5-star defensive end, pass rusher. He's going to be at Texas A&M this weekend, not Oregon. Where does Oregon stand in that recruitment now that he's taken a couple more visits?
Yeah, I think Oregon is in pretty good shape with Aiden Breland. Of course, you've got to be concerned about the Aggies anytime they're involved, especially with defensive line recruiting, well around the country the last couple cycles. But yeah, I think Oregon is in great shape with Aiden Breland. Georgia's another factor there. But I think even, out in Athens, it feels like the Ducks are the team to beat for Breland. So, it would be nice if he was visiting Oregon and Eugene this weekend. I'm sure the Ducks would prefer to have that. But that's another one like Brandon Baker that should he make a decision in August or maybe early September, I think you've got to like where the Ducks sit currently with him.
All right, Duck fans are going to like that answer. Well, you got a big weekend ahead with Saturday Night Live. Duck fans, be sure to check Scoop Duck all weekend for updates. Justin, thank you for stopping by the Inside Scoop.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.